The World Health Organization's Director General says that the window of opportunity to contain wider international spread of COVID-19 is closing after cases were reported in Iran and Lebanon. Outside China, 1,152 cases of the coronavirus have been confirmed in 26 countries, and there have been 8 deaths. China has reported 75,567 cases, including 2,239 deaths. Let's cross over to our London studios now, where Juliana Olainka has more international news in around the world in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London.
Voting has closed in the Iranian parliamentary elections. The turnout will be seen as a key measure of Iran's leadership as sanctions weigh on the economy and isolate the country diplomatically. With thousands of potential candidates disqualified in favour of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's allies, the vote is not expected to ease the country's nuclear standoff with America or lead to a softer foreign policy. Earlier in the day, the country's ruling elite reiterated that voter participation is a religious duty. An Italian judge has set next week Wednesday for the start of the trial of 2 US students jailed over the murder of a police officer in Rome last year. American teenagers Finnegan Lee Elder and Gabriel Christian Natal Yorf, both from San Francisco, were arrested in July 2019 on suspicion of murdering police officer Mario Sacchiello Rega after a dispute following a failed drug deal. Police said Rega was attacked by Elder in the affluent Rome district of Prati, while the officer was trying to arrest the pair on suspicion of stealing a backpack. Rega was stabbed 11 times with a 7-inch knife. The gruesome killing shocked Italians and raised questions over both the motive for the attack and police interrogation methods. 2 people have been killed and several others injured after a train derailed in Australia. The express service came off the track near the Victorian town of MILAN as it travelled from Sydney to Melbourne on Thursday night. According to reports, the male and female who died are believed to have been travelling in the driver's cabin. 153 passengers were on the train at the time. Authorities confirmed that one of the injured had been flown to a Melbourne hospital and another 4 people had been taken to a second hospital where they were in a stable condition.
The investigation is just starting today. It will be absolutely comprehensive, and all of the agencies at both a federal and a state level work together to make sure that the victims' families have the answers that they deserve.
There were calm scenes in the Ukrainian village of Novi Sanzari earlier today after an evening of clashes between local residents and police. Authorities detained 24 people after violence erupted over fears that residents would be infected with the coronavirus by Ukrainians who had been evacuated to a local sanatorium for a mandatory 2-week quarantine. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has arrived in Oman to pay his respects to the late Sultan Qaboos bin Said, who died last month. In a statement released ahead of the visit, Pompeo's office expressed the importance of the bilateral partnership between the 2 countries, describing it as critical to America's mutual national security objectives, which include counter-terrorism and promoting regional stability. Greenpeace France activists have broken into an EDF-owned nuclear plant, demanding that it's closed due to safety concerns. This year, the plant exceeds 40 years of activity, and activists say that there might be dangerous consequences for the territory and to its inhabitants if the plant functions beyond its expiry date. France gets about 75% of its electricity from nuclear plants, but many are old, and the country has set a target of reducing this to 50% by 2035, bringing in more renewable power. In nearby Spain, thousands of farmers took to the streets in the south to stage a go-slow with tractors in protest of low food prices and difficult working conditions. According to union reps, average farm earnings fell by 9% last year amid declining food prices and higher production costs, triggered by increased pricing pressure from supermarket chains and tariffs on some goods. The country's Minister of Agriculture has said Spain would fight to maintain subsidies as close as possible to current levels, but acknowledged this would be difficult following Britain's recent exit from the bloc, which has left a €75 billion hole in its budget. And finally, fashion says yes to sustainability. Italian designer Giorgio Armani spread the message as he presented his Emporio Armani Fall-Winter 2020 collection at Milan Fashion Week. The presentation opened with rolling text running above the catwalk reading, "I'm saying yes to recycling," before models stepped out on the runway. The veteran designer, 85, called his autumn collection Be a Poem, dressing his models in black and white, with some looks also offered in shades of green and blue. Armani stayed loyal to his simple and neutral looks, keeping silhouettes loose and straight-lined.
And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Brilliant, many thanks indeed, Juliana. Let's toss it over to sports now with AYOTUNDE BALOGUN.
Thank you, Gimba. Edo State has begun its countdown to the 20th National Sports Festival, which is scheduled from March the 22nd to April the 1st. The Deputy Governor and Chairman of the local organizing committee, Mr. Philip Schreiber, says efforts are being made to tackle issues of doping, poaching of athletes and other offences synonymous with a competition of this nature. Over 3,000 medals in 33 sports are up for grabs. Liverpool FC manager Jurgen Klopp says Jordan Henderson, the skipper of the side, is expected to miss around 3 weeks of action due to a hamstring injury. Henderson picked up the injury in the closing stages of Liverpool's 1-0 Champions League defeat at Atletico Madrid on Tuesday night, but Klopp said the injury is not as bad as initially feared, considering the other hamstring injuries which have hit their Premier League rivals. In a related development, Chelsea FC manager Frank Lampard has confirmed that midfielder N'Golo Kante has been ruled out for 3 weeks with a leg injury. Kante was taken off on Monday during Chelsea's 2-0 defeat to Manchester United at Stamford Bridge in the English Premier League. Tottenham Hotspur head coach Jose Mourinho says securing Champions League qualification with their current injury-hit squad will be his best achievement. Now, Mourinho will lead his side, depleted by injuries to Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, against Chelsea on Saturday at Stamford Bridge, where he won 3 league titles with the Blues. And the Ivorian Football Federation have announced that Ibrahim Kamara has left his role as head coach of the senior men's national team. Kamara guided the Elephants to the 2019 AFCON, but they were knocked out in the quarterfinal stage against eventual winners, the Desert Foxes of Algeria. And that's sports news. I'm AYOTUNDE BALOGUN.
And the main news again. Newly sworn-in Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Lawrence Wurujakpo, was today immersed in a certificate forgery scandal as court orders investigation into the credibility of his NYSC certificate. Also today, the Independent National Electoral Commission has promised critical changes for the forthcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states, insists primaries must be carried out within the stipulated time. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, today restates his confidence in the ability of the Nigerian troops to win the war against Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. And the head of the World Health Organization says that the window of containing the spread of coronavirus is narrowing, following fresh outbreaks in Iran and Lebanon without links to China. And that's how it's been on the news at 10 tonight. I want to thank you so much indeed for watching. On behalf of all of us, have a splendid weekend. I am Gimba Omar. Good night.